latest warning strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, comes to the federal government as a shock, according to the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige. He describes it as illegal. Dr. Ngige made this position known while fielding questions at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. The minister says there was no notice of the warning strike from the Umbrella Union of Lecturers. Well, let's go over to our Abuja studios where Linda Kigbe has some more stories. Good to see you, Linda.
Good evening, Millicent. Good to see you. Now we begin with the National Assembly, where a bill seeking to ban the importation of electricity generating sets is passed first reading in the Senate. The proposed legislation, titled Generating Set Prohibition and Ban Bill 2020, is sponsored by Senator Mohammed Bima from Niger State. This formed part of deliberations at the upper chamber of the National Assembly today.
Page 1460.
A bill which will surely raise eyebrows has been introduced in the Senate. It's a legislation which seeks to ban the importation and use of generating sets in the country to curb the menace of environmental pollution. Senator Mohammed Bima from Niger State is the sponsor of the bill, and it is read for the first time during Wednesday's plenary session.
Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The proposed legislation states that any person who imports generating sets or knowingly sells generating sets shall be guilty of an offence and be liable on conviction to be sentenced to imprisonment for a term not less than 10 years. However, this does not apply to the importation or sale of any generating set to be used for essential services, which includes hospitals and nursing homes, airports, railway stations, elevators and research institutions, or such facilities that require 24 hours electric power supply. It further states that approval for exclusion shall be obtained from the minister in charge of power, who shall brief the Federal Executive Council quarterly on approvals granted. The bill is already eliciting discussions and strong opinions on social media hours after it is introduced on the floor of the Senate. For a country where its citizens rely on generators for electricity because of inadequate power supply, it's a bill which will be closely monitored by Nigerians. Meanwhile, a couple of constitution amendment bills are passing second reading in the Senate. They are a bill to amend the Constitution to make provision for the financial autonomy of local government councils, a bill to provide immunity for members of a legislature in respect of words spoken or written at plenary sessions or committee proceedings, as well as a bill to preclude the Federal High Court from entertaining pre-election disputes emanating from Congress, conferences, conventions or other meetings convened by political parties for the purpose of electing members of its executive committees of other governing bodies. Senate President Ahmed Lawan refers the Constitution Amendment Bills to the Committee on Constitution Review. The new Emir of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, has been presented with a letter of appointment by the state governor, Abdullahi Ganduje. His brother, Nasiru Ado Bayero, who succeeds him as the traditional ruler of a newly created Bichi Emirate, also received his letter of appointment. The presentation comes barely 28 hours after the removal of Muhammadu II and subsequent announcement of Ado Bayero as a new Emir of Kano. Sanusi, a former central bank governor, was deposed on Monday by the Kano state government and relocated to Nasarawa state.
Gentlemen of the media.
The Kano state government has denied the claim imposed Emir second to Nasarawa state. This refutal was made by the state's Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Ibrahim Mukhtar, today, while speaking on issues surrounding the deposition of the former Emir on our breakfast show, Sunrise Daily. He adds that the removal of the former Emir is administrative and does not touch on the issues pending before the courts. Meanwhile, the presidency insists President Muhammadu Buhari is not in any way involved whatsoever in the dethronement of the former Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, noting that all such insinuations are untrue, malicious and politically motivated. According to a statement by the President's Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, the president does not have a history of intervening in the affairs of any state in the country unless the issue is of national consequence. The statement reads in part, as outlined in the Constitution, the appointment or removal of emirs and other traditional leaders is strictly within the jurisdiction of state governments. It is unfair and disingenuous of opposition politicians to try to link the situation in Kano State to the federal government and the Nigerian president. The president, however, commended the people of Kano for keeping calm in the past few days since the news of the dethronement broke. We return to Lagos, where Teniola Shobowale is waiting to tell us what the National Bureau of Statistics is saying about Nigeria's capital importation in 2019. That's in business news.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Linda. Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's total capital importation grew 42% in 2019 to $23.9 billion compared to $16.81 billion in 2018. Performance in the fourth quarter of the fiscal year, however, slipped 32%. A new set of data released by the Statistics Office shows the headline figure down to $3.8 billion compared to the previous quarter, but higher than the fourth quarter of 2018 by 77.67%. Foreign portfolio investment constituted the largest means of importation and is followed by other investment and foreign direct investments. Equities accounted for the highest amount of capital imported through Stanbic IBTC Bank, while the United Kingdom emerged the country of origin with the highest amount of capital importation, with Lagos as the destination with largest consideration. The Securities and Exchange Commission is set to host a roundtable on commodities trading next week, Monday, March the 16th, to fashion out a structure for the market in Nigeria. According to the SEC's market-wide technical committee on commodities trading ecosystem, focus will be mainly on agriculture. In a statement, the acting director general of the commission, Mary Udok, notes that the shortage of credit to the agriculture sector informed the reason for the planned engagement. The meeting aims to create an enabling environment to improve access to investment opportunities for Nigerians. Now, as the world battles the curb the coronavirus pandemic, the United Kingdom has announced a contribution of £150 million via the International Monetary Fund's Catastrophe and Containment Relief Trust. A statement from the International Monetary Fund says the contribution will come in the form of £75 million grants to the trust, with an additional £75 million earmarked in the budget and contingent to demand. The IMF's Catastrophe and Containment Relief Trust offers debt relief to countries hit by devastating events, including public health disasters. In her acknowledgement of the gesture, the IMF's managing director sees the UK's response as a necessary support to mitigate the impact of the coronavirus crisis, especially for the poorest and most vulnerable countries. Let's check in on the stock markets. The bears strengthened hold on the Nigerian stock market today, extending downtrend to the third trading session of the week to retract the year-to-date loss to 10%. Here's Layo Adegoke with more details.
Thank you for joining us for the Stock Markets Report. The free fall in Nigeria's equities markets continued in today's session by 3.35%, leading to a loss of 425.2 billion naira off the equity capitalization. Price decline in market heavyweights such as Dangote Cement and Nestle, which slid by 10% each, dragged the all-share index down to 23,572.75 points. The 5 major indices ended in the south, with the consumer goods sector badly hit by 4.74% due to the 10% fall apiece in Nestle, Nascon, Cadbury and other food companies. Some investors, however, took advantage of the lower price stocks, which led to a nearly balanced market breadth of 20 losers and 18 gainers. Activity levels surged by 134% as investors stake over 1.3 billion shares for 17 billion naira in 7,150 deals. Well, that's it on the stock market reports. I'm Layo Adegoke. It's back to you, Teniola.
Thanks, Lyle. Meanwhile, stocks across advanced markets were sharply lower as the World Health Organization officially declared the coronavirus a global pandemic. Here's how the markets traded down midweek. And that's business news tonight. It's over to you, Millicent.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Teniola. It's a major milestone for the Benson Idahosa University following the commissioning of the Faculty of Engineering and the dedication of its legacy campus in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Founder and president of Love World Incorporated, who was the special guest at the event, said that the founder of the institution, Archbishop Benson Idahosa, left behind a legacy of good education.
The Faculty of Engineering building is ready for use at the legacy campus of the Benson Idahosa University, Benin City, the Edo State capital. This edifice is to develop technical manpower of academic and practical competence. It's double joy for the university community, friends and well-wishers who have come to join in their celebrations.
The dividend that will come from this seed that we are seeing today, the dividend you will enjoy it. Your children will enjoy it. Your children's children will enjoy it. So the third, fourth, and fifth, sixth generation.
The special guest of honor, who is the donor of the faculty building, has been an old associate of the Idahosas. Pastor Chris Oyakilome says his contribution is born out of the mentorship he received from the late Archbishop Benson Idahosa.
He taught us to be educated. Look at this school. But aside that, he showed us education was important and he stressed it. He stressed it. He inspired us about school. He taught us to be relevant to our society. He taught us to support the poor and the government.
For the president of the Benson Idahosa University, Bishop Feb Idahosa, the institution has even greater achievements in mind.
We've already put plans in motion that when they call world-class universities, not just in Nigeria now, but around the world, Nigeria has broken into the first 1,000. We're breaking the first 500, then the first 100, then the first 20. That's what we're putting plans in place to do. God is doing good things, and we have good faculty, good academics, good teachers, and a good vision that will help us get there by God's grace.
The construction work on the Faculty of Engineering building of the Benson Idahosa University started on April 28, 2016. The building has 3 floors and a penthouse, housing 56 offices and 24,100-seater classrooms for lectures.
Still ahead on the news at 10, film producer Harvey Weinstein sentenced to 23 years in prison for rape and sexual assault, and more from our London bureau in Around the World in 5. Please stay with us.